Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We are diving straight into episode 2 of our Turning Our Dies into Stamps. But first of all, I'm going to get a couple of other elements ready, and I have die cut out those 3 little clumps of grass, and then this is a post from the Lawn Fawn set called Happy Mail, but honestly, you could just cut it out yourself. I mean, it's a rectangle. But anyway, I have this Woodgrain stamp here. Now this one is from Ali, and I'm using some, I think it might be vintage photo maybe, I'm not sure, distress ink. And I am just stamping a tiny wee bit onto that little post. Then I'm using some Cup of Joe from Hero Arts, which is basically just a brown ink. I have very few brown inks, so I really just have to make do with what I have, which I'm happy with. Now I am leaving it in its little piece of paper that I die cut it from. I just find it easier to kind of hold on to it that way and ink all around it, and I don't get as many harsh lines, but you certainly can take them out. It's the same with these grass ones. I just find it really easy to leave them in there. So that's why I've got a little piece of low-tech tape on the back to hold them in place. Now I just pulled out a couple of finger daubers here, and they already had some green ink on them, so I didn't even re-ink up that light one. I have a feeling it is an oxide ink, a distress oxide ink. But anyway, and then I used some Catherine Paula ink to do the darker one. Now I've just cut out another little rectangle from just some white paper, and this is going to be the top signpost. So I just freehand cut that. It's not rocket science, it's a very simple shape. And I am just dirtying it up a little bit with that same Cup of Joe brown ink so that it matches the post underneath. Now I'm having a real finger dauber kick at the moment. I am loving them. I'm finding them much easier to get out than my blending foams. They definitely have different purposes, so I'm not going to get rid of them or anything silly like that. But I get them from Ali and I love them. Now these are the 3 vehicles that we are going to be using today. And I have some plain white fun foam that I'm going to run them through a couple of times each. Now here is the key to die cutting with fun foam. Only ever run it through your die cutting machine one time. Don't be tempted to roll it back through to make sure there's a good cut. Just roll it through one time and one time only, because that way when the foam stretches on the first way through, if you put it back through, the blades of the die cut in a different place. And it never really works out well. So that is the key. Make sure you just run it through one time only. So I cut out a few of these vehicles, and this is just the plain white fun foam, and I'll link it down below. And then I am putting a little bit of double-sided tape onto my acrylic blocks that I have here. Any shapes will do. It doesn't matter which acrylic blocks you use. And then I'm just peeling it off, and I'm going to stick down my vehicles. Now notice that I actually end up sticking down my vehicles in the same direction. So I have 2 trucks and 2 cars. I decided just to use 2 out of those 3 vehicles that I had. Then I'm going to use Lime Ricky and Tiara from Catherine Paula and the Blue Yonder from Ranger. And here I am just switching around the vehicles. So remember I said that they were in the same direction. I want them to go in different directions. And then I'm testing these out. Now I always feel like I like to test out these stamps. So at the moment they have no ink on them. This is the first time I'm using them. And I have that scrap piece of paper to the right there. And I just want to make sure that they all stamp how I'm expecting them to stamp. Now I am just kind of, once I stamp it in one colour, I'm going to stick with that colour, and that's why I did multiple. So one of the cars is green and the other little car I stamped in the yellow. But I'll show you at the end here, these actually clean up really, really well. If I use a baby wipe, I can wipe off almost all of the colour, and you could most definitely reuse these. However, because I use my acrylic blocks all the time, it doesn't really work for me to have them just sitting there on my acrylic blocks. But what I'm saying is, if you wanted to make 2 of these kind of cards at the same time, in my head this is more aimed at a boy, but if you wanted to make a girl after this, you could clean the stamps off well enough that you could then use pinks and purples and yellows and oranges and all of that, and you wouldn't have a problem at all, I think. So that's what I'm pointing out more so. So anyway, I am just randomly stamping these all over and making sure that I get a good mix of the vehicles going either way. And I really, really like this background paper that I've created. I really like it. So here I'm just quickly showing you, if you wipe with a baby wipe and you kind of just, honestly, it's not hard at all, but you can get pretty much all of the colour off. And as I said, you would be able to use it again. So then I'm going to take my panel and trim it down just slightly because I want to create a nice blue border for it using the same blue that I used in the card. And usually I sometimes just mask off and create a border that way, but today I really needed to, because I wanted there to be a white border around the outside matting blue layer, I wanted to make it a separate layer. So again, this is probably where it's better to use a blending foam, would be much quicker, but I have my finger daubers all out, so that's what I was using. And now it's just time to put the whole card together. So this is a super quick and simple birthday card, which is bright, and I made a few of these actually while I was making them, because this just really caught my eye. I really like this nice simple design. And now we're going to put the post together, so I'm just taking off that tape from the back so that all the die cuts come out. And same with the post, and then I'm just going to stamp happy birthday on my sign and add a couple of pieces of grass down nice and flat. And then the post will have one layer of foam tape, and the sign will have 2 layers of foam tape and a tiny wee bit on the last piece of grass. And that it pretty much finishes off this card today. I hope that you are enjoying this series. I have a couple more videos to come at the moment. I'm not quite sure how many I'm doing, but I think it'll be probably 3 videos. And yeah, it's just a nice easy way to really stretch the use of my dies, and also it makes sort of coordinating dies and stamps. And then just to finish off this card while I'm at it, I'm also going to stamp a couple of the little cards in the inside, and then I'm going to stamp the same happy birthday one, exactly the same stamp that I had before, and that finishes it off nicely. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love to know what you guys are thinking. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share my video around, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much. See ya. Bye.